No, it's this again. Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to today's YouTube Live. We apologize for any difficulties that you're having. We're trying to distribute the link now. So for those of you who are watching in the future, we've had some technical difficulties this week, but we're doing our best to overcome these so we can carry on our lesson. Don't worry, we'll still do the full half an hour. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes for some other students. Perhaps one of my colleagues will send the new link to the old video. So hopefully it will be easy for our students to join the new lesson. Let's talk about something in regards to English while we wait for our other students. So yesterday we talked about, what did we talk about yesterday? Some business vocabulary. Hello, Elodie, it's lovely to have you here. I do apologize for the technical issues. We're doing our best to find a solution. How are you, Elodie? How has your day been? Perhaps you can tell me what you've done today. I understand that everyone is still in confinement, but it's really interesting to hear what you're doing with your day. So how has your day been, Elodie? What have you done? I'm just explaining, Elodie, that we're going to wait for a couple of more students and then we're going to try and start the lesson. So please bear with me while we wait maybe 2 or 3 minutes. It's excellent to hear you're doing well. I'm also doing very well, thank you. What have you done today, Elodie? Are you working? Are you at home with your family? Are you doing something? I'd love to hear what you're up to. So I'm going to quickly recap the lesson yesterday on business vocabulary. So let me find my paper quickly. So business vocabulary, we talked about the different business types. Okay, fantastic. So you like baking, Elodie? What were you baking at home? Did you make a cake? Did you make a cookie? Fantastic. When we say prepare, we often talk about the process before we cook something. So for example, if I am preparing a spaghetti bolognese or I'm preparing a pizza, it's normally the action I'm doing before I cook it, before I put it in the oven. So for example, preparing a pizza would include cutting the tomatoes, using the cheese, making a really nice meal. And I'd like to welcome everyone who is joining today. I'm terribly sorry, we're having a terrible week in regards to connection. We're doing our best to find a solution. We hope there's going to be no issue tomorrow. But thank you all for sticking around and joining the lesson. As I mentioned before, we're going to wait just 1 or 2 minutes to wait for our other students. We recognize and we understand that we send out a link, and unfortunately, there's no way we're able to test the link until we go live. So we tried the link at 2:45 today, and we had issues all the way up to 3 o'clock. So we had to resolve this issue by creating a new link. If you follow our link to the lesson and you realize that it's empty, it's best to look on our channel to make sure you have the right class. Okay, so for those of you who have just joined, thank you very much. We can start the lesson now. And again, I really do sincerely apologize for the difficulties we've been having. It's lovely to have you here. So the lesson today is on answering common interview questions. And now for those of you who have been watching our videos for a couple of weeks now, we've done a lesson similar to this before. It's really important to discuss this because I think it's really helpful that the vocabulary and the terminology is still fresh in your mind, so you can use that and practice this. It might be a good time to mention that with each week, we try and focus on a new topic. The next week, we're going to focus a bit more on grammar and some really common mistakes that are made in English. So please stick around and please contribute as much as you can. And thank you for those who are just joining now. We apologize again for these difficulties. So let's start with our facts while the students are coming in. So my fact number 1 since we're talking about interviews today, is what is the average length of an interview? Okay, what is the average length of an interview? So an interview is the process where you're asking employees or the employers need to recruit new people. This is a very important process as you want to recruit someone who's going to be beneficial for your company and help them grow. The best way to do this is to have a face-to-face meeting where you can see their personality and you can really get to know them. Okay, we're starting to get some answers. So 1 hour, this would have been my suggestion too. I think to really get to know to someone, you need to spend a lot of time talking with them, asking them questions to see how they deal with different kind of responses. Fantastic question, Hamza. Average is the word we use to define a mean. Okay, so it's a mathematical term. For example, if I use my board here to explain the meaning of average, so let me write the word down, average, and I do apologize because the board might appear backwards. If we have three numbers, 1, 2, 3, the mean is the value which appears most regularly, or the value which is in the middle of our numbers, of our group. So the average is 2, the mean is 2. Because this is the middle value, we have three numbers. 1 is low and 3 is high. If you cancel 1 and 3 out, so you can do that easily by taking 1 off 3, you get 2. 2 is left remaining. So 2 is our average. It's a number which defines the most regular time. I apologize if that description is not very clear, but please let me know if that is the correct answer. And thank you very much for those in the comments who are helping. The answer for this is 40 minutes. So scientists have recognized that 40 minutes is the average time for an interview. So congratulations to those of you who said a time close to 40 minutes. Perhaps an hour might be too long, perhaps 30 minutes might be too short, but everyone was really close. So the next question is, what body language is most important to the interviewer? What body language is most important to the interviewer? To the interviewer. Okay, so when we talk about body language, it means how you respond with your reactions in regards to your body. So if I'm sad, I might shrug my shoulders, I might look down. I'm not saying anything, but it's my body expressing an emotion. It's me saying something without talking. If I'm happy, I might be looking up, I might be smiling. So it's very clear to see body language. So what do you think is most important for an interviewer? Of course, it's important to be happy, to talk loudly, to look at your interviewer. Let's have a look at some of your suggestions. So hands, yes, fantastic. It's really important to seem professional and use gestures with your hand. So a gesture is when you can make a symbol or a sign with your hand. This might not be appropriate, but it's important to try and explain your point using your hands. Fantastic point. The movement of your face, smiling, and eyes, fantastic. Okay, so a lot of you are saying hands. Smiling is really important. You want to give the impression that you're a very friendly person and that you're easy to work with. So, fantastic, Nariman, you are correct. According to scientists in a recent study, they discovered that eye contact is the most important attribute. So eye contact is when you look at your employer in the eye. I think it shows honesty and appreciation. I think if you look someone in the eyes, they really feel what you're saying. So that's really important. But I do agree that everyone here has some fantastic suggestions in regards to important traits. So thank you all for that. Okay, let's get started. So we just spoke about traits. We talked about hand movements, body language in regards to eye contact. What other traits are important? What other traits are important in an interview? So I'm talking about body language, and you can talk about the way you talk as well. Do you speak quietly? Should you speak loudly and forcefully? Okay. Can we use gestures? What do you think is really important? What other traits, what other adjectives could you use to describe someone which might be needed in an interview? So let's have a look at some suggestions. Elodie's come up with a great answer. It's really important to wear a business attire. So business attire is normally a suit, a shirt, nice trousers, and nice shoes. When you dress in such a way, it gives off a very positive impression. I believe it shows organization and professionalism. I don't think you'd get a good response if you wore sunglasses and came in some shorts. Fantastic point, Elodie. Fantastic, Hajar. You've mentioned body language here. It's very important how we sit. If I sat down in the back of my chair and I'm chewing gum and I'm really laid back, I might not seem very professional, and it might not be. It might not set a good example for the interviewer. Fantastic. Tone of your voice. Fantastic, Catherine. You don't want to be too loud and too forceful. It's important to understand that it's a conversation. You're trying to really understand each other, so to not interrupt the interviewer, perhaps. Fantastic point. Really great, Hamza. The expression on your face. I think we spoke before about smiling, being accepted, being polite and kind to the interviewer. Fantastic. Smiling, good presentation, fantastic. Okay, so I wrote down here being prepared also. Perhaps you could research the company, you could research the role you're going to be involved in. Speaking clearly, not mumbling. Eye contact, as we spoke about before. Gestures with your hands, using professional vocabulary, and yes, researching perhaps other parts of the company too. So I would like to hear some adjectives, okay? Some adjectives related to what you could tell the employer. So, for example, they could ask you, can you tell me why we should pick you? Okay, how could you describe yourself? For example, hardworking. Are you easygoing? Are you fun? Are you excitable? What adjectives could you use to describe yourself? So, if you all pretend you're in a job interview, how would you describe yourself? If someone asked you, okay, please tell me about yourself, what would you say? If you are uncertain of some adjectives, you're able to write just the adjective. But if you're able to write a sentence for me, that's even better. You could say, I believe I'm hardworking because I dedicate a lot of time to my company. I believe I am easygoing because I'm able to communicate with those in my current job. I've shown this by making this project. I can explain this by doing this. Okay, there's many ways and there's avenues to which you can really expand on these adjectives. So let's have a look at some suggestions that you've had, and thank you all for your suggestions. They're looking really good. So flexible, fantastic. When we talk about being flexible, it means we're open to changes. We're open to difficulties. If we're flexible, it means we're able to adapt to a certain situation. Perhaps the job you're applying to is similar to the position you have now, but there are some differences. Then it would be appropriate to say, I am flexible and I believe this can help me adapt from my current situation to the new one. Fantastic. Open-minded, punctuality. Yes, I believe I'm punctual. For those of you who are unaware what punctual means, it means to be on time. This can be on time to work. Perhaps your work starts at 9, you get there at 9:15. It could even be with a document or a project. Perhaps your boss or colleague needs a document at 4 p.m. You could send it at 3. That would be being very punctual. You're on time. It shows professionalism and a lot of care. Really good point. Okay, thank you all for your comments. I'll try and explain and talk about as many as I can in the interest of time. Fantastic, Alexandra. Positivity. So I think your sentence here, I always have a positive attitude. It sounds professional in an interview if you're really concise and you try and use some adjectives. So for example, you could say, I like to be positive. Positivity is really important to me because I believe it helps mine and others' workflow. I think positivity is important because it improves the working environment. It's a fantastic point. And everyone here has some really good suggestions. Serious workaholic, that's a good one. You could say you're dedicated or you enjoy working on certain projects. Serious, good. Sociable, adaptable, fantastic, efficient. Reliable, that's another really good one, Merriman. So reliable means that someone can depend on you. Available to colleagues. Okay, creative. I really like that one, Liliana. Creativity is really important in business because we spoke about having meetings yesterday. Sometimes a problem is best dealt with some creativity, a new idea, a new avenue for a potential project. Fantastic. Okay, so thank you again for your adjectives. Let's move on. The next point I have here is what skill would be most important for you? So we'll talk about this question quickly. So I'm going to write here most important skill. And we're going to try and hopefully teach you some new adjectives. So the ones that I have written down here are ambitious. If you are ambitious, it means you aim high. You have goals that you like to achieve. Ambitious. Confident. I think I saw that in the text above. If you're confident, it means that you're able to tackle situations with ease. You're able to communicate with ease. You are not shy of a new situation. I also wrote down here hardworking, easygoing, motivated, honest, and loyal. I think these are really important. Pauline has written fluent in English. All of you are fantastic, and I'm sure if you had an interview in English, you'd all do really well. A really good point, Pauline. Normally, skills are in relation to your studies and your education. So, English is a fantastic example. A lot of companies now are international. When I say international, I'm referring to these companies being based in many different countries. This means that in a meeting scenario, you might talk with someone who might not speak your native language very well. So it's really important to speak a common language, for example, English. Good management skills, exactly. How do you manage your time? Okay, it's a very common expression in English to talk about managing time. Okay, fantastic, Hamza. Rigor, fantastic, really good. To be on time, adaptable, good. Dexterity. Okay, so we have a lot of suggestions like before. Really good, everyone. So let's talk about some common interview questions and try and have a little discussion. So the video today is on answering 10 common interview questions. For those of you who joined late, I explained at the beginning that it's important to have this discussion as we had a lesson previously on interview questions. And I feel like there is a lot of content to cover. So it's important we just refresh ourselves and I can make sure you are all in a good environment for an interview, perhaps. If you do have any questions, please do ask. I'm here to help. And I would also like to say that next week we'll move more onto grammar and common mistakes in English. But we really want to help you in a professional environment, for example, an interview. So let's talk about the first question. Number 1. Tell me about yourself. So we have 10 questions to go through. Let's try and have a brief discussion about each question, okay? So when I write a question, you could perhaps tell me in one sentence what things you talk about. For example, if an employer asked me to tell me about yourself, tell me about myself, I would talk about my hobbies, where I came from, my education. Perhaps I could talk about a trip I've recently done. It's more of a personal question, I believe. When you start an interview, I don't think it's very common to talk directly about work. It's a period in interview, a period of time where you get to know another person. The best way to do that is by asking more personal questions. So you're exactly right, Elodie. It's perhaps a deep subject, but it's important to really get to know the other person. So Corinne, you've written down a hobby, which is fantastic. You can explain where you come from, your hobbies such as yoga. Okay, I can't see many other descriptions, so I'll move on. Okay, Catherine's response has just come onto my screen now. I'm fond of nature and I've been working for years to protect it. Fantastic, Catherine. I think what you've explained really well in your example there is a link between your personal hobby and your work. I think this goes to show that it's the job you do is very you're already driven and determined to do so because it's a personal goal of yours. I think if you're able to link your personal skills and your hobbies with your job, it's a really good point and a really good start to the interview. So fantastic. Okay, number two, why should we hire you? So again, many of the adjectives we discussed before would be a great way to answer this question, okay? So here you really do want to talk about yourself, but in a positive way. You don't want to seem cocky or over the top. You want to be calm, composed, and I think it's really important to explain why you said this particular adjective. For example, if I said I'm honest, I can use an example in the past, and I could answer this question. I believe I would be suited to your company because I'm very honest. In the past, when there has been an issue which was my fault, I wrote it on the group. I wrote an email to my colleagues. They were then able to help me and we were able to fix the problem. Okay, as long as you're able to explain your adjective, I think it's really important. Fantastic. Okay, I apologize. I'm not able to read through your responses. Question number three. What is your greatest strength? Okay, so a strength is a positive, okay? So here you could choose one of your adjectives that you explained before in Why Should We Hire You, and you can go into more depth. Okay, when else have I been honest? I could talk about another situation where I've been honest, a situation where I've had to show that skill multiple times. Okay, so we really do highlight one specific adjective and we go into more detail. We discuss why, how, where, and when. Okay, so fantastic. I do apologize with the interest of time. I'm unable to read through your responses, but thank you very much for sharing. If you're able to read the comments and suggestions on the page, hopefully that will help you become more confident with the questions we're talking about. But fantastic. Number four, this is the opposite to the last question. What is your greatest weakness? Okay, so what's an issue when you're working? What do you find difficult when you have a job interview? Perhaps this is a more difficult question because you don't want to say something that could put your job at risk. You don't want to go into a job interview and say, I'm lazy, I'm not punctual, I'm not hardworking, because they probably won't hire you. If it's a particular skill or aspect in your job which you can turn into a positive, that would be an excellent answer, explaining how you turned a negative weakness into a strength. So as some of you have written English, we're here to improve. And If that was a weakness of yours, which you felt, you could be honest and say, yes, I believe my language capability is weak. In light of this, I am attending classes online and I am part of Cercle, who are a business teaching company, a business English company, and I'm trying to improve my English with weekly lessons. It shows that you've recognized your weaknesses and you've shown how you can overcome those weaknesses. It's a fantastic point there. Thank you very much for sharing. Number 5, why do you want to leave your current job? So here you can talk about perhaps what you like in a job, what you search for a job. Perhaps here you could talk about a potential benefit in this company you're applying to. For example, maybe this company is closer to your home. Perhaps the commute is a lot shorter. It's easy for you to travel. Whereas your job that you have right now, you need to take a train, a bus, and it's very difficult for you. Perhaps you want to spend more time with your family. You can talk about an answer. You can plan this answer. You can think of a personal scenario for you, which you could explain a reason for choosing this new job. Number 6, what are your salary expectations? So I think with this, you need to take into account your experience and your eligibility for the job. When I talk about eligibility, I'm referring to how much you're qualified for the job. Do you have the right degree? Is your previous job similar? Okay, so fantastic. You need to talk about this and have a good idea because they might ask you. Number 7, why do you want this job? So we spoke before about meetings, to being prepared. We spoke at the start of this lesson today about being prepared for an interview. If you want to be prepared, it's important to look on the websites, to know a lot about the company so you can pick a specific aspect about the job. For me, I love this job because I'm able to meet some lovely students and have a real connection with some of you. And it's great to do these lessons, and I really feel like it's helping, and I hope it is doing that. And again, if you do have any questions or anything is unclear, then please do say. And I apologize again if I'm not able to respond to every one of your answers, but it's fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing. So number 7, if we go to number 8 now. Okay, I'm just quickly looking at the answers in the chat. Yes, I thought there was a question, but you're right, Elodie. You can also do research about the company. Do you know our company? Fantastic. It's important to know about them. Number 8, how do you handle stress and pressure? So a lot of the times in an interview, they can ask more personally about how you act within a company. Okay, what do you do to remain calm and to remain professional? Sometimes this is very difficult, and you could perhaps say, for me, I like to just, if things are getting very difficult, I maybe take a 2 minute break. I sit down, I have a coffee, and I use this time to think clearly about the situation. Or you could frame the answer in a positive way. You could say, if I'm under stress or pressure, perhaps you mentioned before that you thought you were good, you worked well within a team. You could say, as mentioned before, I enjoy working as a team and I think I'm good with teamwork. If I'm under stress or pressure, I will consult an employee, a colleague, a friend, and ask for their help. I also do the same for them. If I notice that they're under pressure or they're stressed, I will do my best to help them with their problem. Okay, fantastic. We have some excellent responses here. Sport, an excellent example. Take a break, fantastic. I breathe, fantastic. It sounds really simple, but breathing can really help you calm down. Practicing yoga, fantastic. Okay, really good. Number 9, describe a difficult situation. Describe a difficult situation and how you overcame it. Okay, so here they're looking for your problem-solving abilities. Here, I think it's really important to give an example. I think one example I could give is there was difficulty in accessing the YouTube Live. We had some technical difficulties. So in order to overcome this, we had to explain to the students what was going on. We had to communicate it clearly, and we had to send a new link to our page. And again, I do apologize for any technical difficulties and for the confusion. I hope we sort it out soon. So, number 10, the last one. What are your goals for the future? So again, they want to know about you. Why? What are your aims? What would you like to achieve in this company? You know, perhaps this question they could be asking themselves, is this position right for this person? Perhaps their goals don't match ours. Perhaps their goals do. For me, it's to make many contacts and to enjoy my job. And I really do enjoy doing my lessons and the YouTube Live. It's fantastic to meet all of you and to be able to teach you. And it's really good that we have an interactive lesson like this. Okay, so those are the 10 questions. I would like to quickly ask before we finish, do you have any questions? Do you think there are other questions you could ask about an interview? I would also, while I'm waiting for a response, I will explain again that next week we have some grammar modules. I do apologize if these lessons cover some of the same topics. It's because we want to try and help you practice and help you retain the new vocabulary and conjugations while they're still fresh. So we're going to try and keep a common theme throughout the weeks. So next week it's going to be on grammar, and hopefully we can help you out with some common mistakes. So, are there any questions that you have? Do you think there are any more questions that an interviewer could ask? Okay, I haven't seen any answers so far, but this is the end of the lesson. Thank you all very much for watching. For those of you who already haven't, please do subscribe. You can find the button just below the video here, and there will be a description later on to explain the process of joining our company along with some details. If you do have CPF, we can offer you free one-to-one classes, and we'd love to get to know you and help you more. So thank you very much for joining today, everyone. And again, we apologize for the difficulties we've been having, but thank you very much for staying. We hope you have a lovely evening, and we'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. for another lesson. Have a great day, and goodbye.